Let's play a game. It's called Find the Villain. On a summer night in 2016, 20-year-old Calvin Riley was playing Pokémon Go in a San Francisco park. A simple, harmless activity. Suddenly, a gunshot. Calvin collapsed. And despite his friends' and paramedics' best efforts, he was gone. The headlines immediately latched onto the one trendy detail, Pokémon Go. But the game didn't pull a trigger. The tragic reality is that a young man was a victim of a random, senseless act of urban violence. The case remains unsolved. The villain here isn't a digital pocket monster. It's a real-life monster who has never been caught. The game was just the scenery for the tragedy, not the cause. Now let's travel to India in 2021. Two teenagers are walking along active railway tracks, their eyes glued to a game of PUBG Mobile. A freight train, a massive multi-ton vehicle that cannot stop on a dime, is approaching. The engineer blasts the horn. People shout. But the boys, lost in their digital world, notice nothing until it's too late. The story was framed as a dangers of gaming narrative. But let's be honest. If they had been reading a book, texting a friend, or having a deep conversation, the outcome would have been the same. This isn't a story about the hypnotic power of a video game. It's a story about the unstoppable power of a locomotive and the very simple rule of not walking on train tracks. The villain wasn't PUBG. It was physics. We live in a world where our digital lives have very real consequences, and not just in these extreme cases. I found this out myself when I Googled my own name. I found page after page of sites I'd never heard of, selling my home address, my phone number, even details about my relatives to anyone with a few bucks. It's creepy. These companies, called data brokers, operate in the shadows, profiting off your privacy without your consent. And sure, they're supposed to remove your data if you ask, but they make the process an absolute nightmare, hoping you'll just give up. That's where today's sponsor, Aura, steps in. Aura doesn't just give you the tools to fight back. It fights back for you. It automatically contacts these brokers and demands they remove your information, and then keeps monitoring to make sure it stays gone. I use Aura because it gives me actual peace of mind. But that's not all. Aura is a complete digital security suite. It warns you if your passwords or credit card numbers are found on the dark web, scans for malware, provides a VPN for secure browsing, and even includes a password manager. Plus, you're backed by $5 million in identity theft insurance and a 24/7 support team. It's absurd that we have to protect ourselves from companies selling our lives for profit. That's why I chose Aura. You can see for yourself how much of your data is exposed by trying it free for 14 days using my link in the description. In our online world, you shouldn't have to go unprotected. Thanks to Aura for sponsoring this video. Back to the blame game. In 2008, a man named David Heiss flew from Germany to England to visit Matthew Pike. They had met online through an Advance Wars fan site. But Heiss wasn't there for friendship. He was there because he had developed a dangerous obsession with Pike's girlfriend. He forced his way into their flat and brutally murdered Matthew. The media linked it to the game. But this story has almost nothing to do with Advance Wars. This is a terrifying classic tale of stalking and violent obsession. The fan site was just the room where they met. It could have been a library. Oh, fuck. What a coffee shop. Or a Facebook group for cat lovers. The platform is irrelevant. The villain was a disturbed individual, not a turn-based strategy game. That same year, 15-year-old Brandon Crisp got into an argument with his parents about how much time he was spending on Call of Duty. They took away his Xbox. Furious, Brandon ran away from home on his bike. A massive search began. 3 weeks later, his body was found. An autopsy revealed he had tragically died from injuries after falling out of a tree. This is a heartbreaking story, but it's not about gaming addiction causing a death. It's about a family conflict, a teenager's impulsive decision to run away, and a terrible fatal accident. The game was the subject of the argument, but it wasn't the cause of the fall. In 2019, a 16-year-old in India named Furkan Qureshi collapsed and died from cardiac arrest after playing PUBG for 6 hours straight. His family said he had become obsessed. This case is different. The activity is directly linked. But is the game itself the poison, or is it a story about obsession and compulsion? Any activity, from running to working to, yes, gaming, can be dangerous when taken to an extreme that ignores the body's fundamental needs. The narrative here isn't that a game is inherently deadly, but that obsessive behavior focused on any single thing can have tragic consequences. London, 2016. A 22-year-old man named Azim Issa stabbed and killed a 28-year-old Sahil Roy. The headlines screamed, "FIFA murder," because the two had apparently taunted each other over the video game days before. But what did the judge say in court? He noted that the immediate fatal argument wasn't about a video game at all. It was over cannabis. Once again, the game was a colorful, click-worthy detail. But the real, far more mundane motive was found in the court records. In 2003, two stepbrothers, ages 16 and 14, took rifles to an overpass in Tennessee and started shooting at cars on the interstate, killing one driver and injuring another. When caught, they told police they were inspired by Grand Theft Auto 3. This is perhaps the most famous example of a game being blamed for violence, but the argument is paper thin. The game didn't put a high-powered rifle in their hands. It didn't strip them of their knowledge of right and wrong. It simply served as a flimsy pop culture excuse for a horrifying act they chose to commit. The jury agreed. Fast forward to 2021 in Brazil. A professional Call of Duty mobile player, 19-year-old Ingrid Oliveira Bueno da Silva, was murdered by another player, Guilherme Alves Costa. He confessed. This is a tragedy, but it's a story of interpersonal violence that occurred within a specific community. The fact that the community was built around esports is the setting, not the motive. Violence and conflict exist in every part of society, from workplaces to families, to, yes, competitive gaming circles. In 2025, near Paris, an 11-year-old girl named Louise was tragically murdered. The suspect, a 23-year-old man, told investigators he had left his house angry after a dispute related to the game Fortnite, with the intention of robbing someone. The game didn't instruct him to kill. It was the catalyst for his bad mood. The subsequent decision to commit a violent crime was his alone. Chesapeake, Virginia. 2017. 60-year-old Jin Sheng Chen was sitting in his minivan in his own neighborhood, playing Pokémon Go. A security guard, Jonathan Cromwell, saw his van, approached, and fired 10 shots into the vehicle, killing him. The guard claimed Chen's actions were suspicious. The court saw it differently. Cromwell was convicted of murder. Chen's crime was playing a mobile game. Cromwell's was being paranoid and trigger-happy. In this story, the gamer was 100% the victim, and the villain was the man with the gun. In 2017, a streamer named Brian Vigneault was on the 22nd hour of a 24-hour charity stream of World of Tanks. He told viewers he was stepping away for a smoke and never returned. He was found dead. The gaming world mourned a man who had seemingly gamed himself to death for a good cause. The narrative was set, but months later, the toxicology report came out. The cause of death wasn't exhaustion. It was an accidental fentanyl overdose. A story everyone thought was about the dangers of streaming was actually a quiet, hidden tragedy of the opioid crisis. Finally, Alabama, 2003. An 18-year-old named Devin Moore, brought into a police station for a stolen car, suddenly grabbed an officer's gun. He shot and killed that officer, a second officer, and a dispatcher, then fled in a patrol car. His defense? Grand Theft Auto made him do it. The jury didn't buy it for a second. They saw his actions not as the result of a video game, but as the choices of a violent criminal. He was sentenced to death. So, after all these stories, who is the real villain? It's rarely the software. It's usually a tragic cocktail of human factors: mental instability, obsession, poor judgment, or just plain old-fashioned evil. Games don't create villains. They just sometimes provide a convenient mask for them to wear. If you'd like a more nuanced look at stories like these, make sure to subscribe. And let me know your thoughts on the blame game in the comments below.